Hey y'all, Data Guy here. And today I have a video that's a little bit out of the ordinary, but it's something that I think is really exciting and interesting to talk about on this Monday morning, as the entire AI kind of stock boom has really been thrown into a halt because of what's on the screen right now, which is DeepSeek. So DeepSeek is a Chinese open source AI shop where they purport to basically have a model that performs better than the ChatGPT O model, but completely free and also completely open source. So similar to Llama, you're able to download the full source code, run it completely independently, but they also offer this DeepSeek chatbot. And so here you can see, some of the benchmarks. Obviously, unless you're really deep in the weeds on how to, analyze ML model performance, probably won't mean a lot to you, but you can see they are performing seemingly very well to my relatively untrained eye. And so what they offer is you can either go to DeepSeek and then log in with Google in 1 second. And here you have a UI pretty similar to ChatGPT. So, can ask it typical question like, hey, can you write me an Airflow DAG that performs ETL workloads in a Snowflake database? And then let's see what it gives us. And here, honestly, pretty good performance. So you can see you have, a quick primer of, hey, what you're going to be using. Code is definitely not to latest best practices. I think ChatGPT probably has better code initially, but honestly takes a lot of refinement as well. I don't get great code out of ChatGPT really easily. And so this is, just the typical web portal that you can use instead of ChatGPT. But you might notice, no paying for it. There's no need to, basically download or do anything with it. It's completely free. But the thing to note is this is a Chinese application and also has some risk on personal data. So this is something that you might not want to actually put sensitive information in or things that your company's working on because you have no guarantees of data privacy. And honestly, it's the same thing with ChatGPT. And I don't want to get into geopolitical politics, but a lot less protections on user privacy within China than there are in America and especially in Europe. But it is pretty cool that you can do things like, hey, I can search the web. Can you get me the latest news articles on DeepSeek? And has a web search functionality. Seems to be pretty useful for pretty much, or I guess here we go, nothing actually. So might actually have some bugs. So here we go, 37 results. So it performs similar to how ChatGPT would now. And you can see quick little update on exactly why people might be upset about it. You also see a little bit about the strategy. You also have the option to do DeepThink R1. And so in here, this is actually for more reasoning problems. So something like, what is the best way to address slow performing SQL queries while paying data engineers minimally? And so this is important for these kind of jobs where, this is honestly kind of a silly example, but where it's more complex reasoning, it might actually need to think and evaluate its responses and then give you kind of a macro response after. So here you can actually see exactly what the reasoning is behind the scenes. And you can see, hey, this is what the model is actually doing to reason, and then evaluate, hey, what the best outcome is before actually serving the answer to you. So if you want to go deeper in understanding, especially for things like prompt engineering, understanding how your prompts are encouraging the underlying machine to think and then looking through that process can be really valuable. So this is just a typical chatbot, but I also want to go into kind of what also makes DeepSeek cool, which is the ability to download and use it entirely locally. So you can actually download the entire DeepSeek model, R1 model, on your own machine and then run it yourself. A lot of your laptops are not going to be able to do that, honestly, but it is really cool to be able to go in here. So if I go actually to their GitHub, you can see they have a public white paper. There's kind of a usage recommendations section, but you can take these actual models. So you can see DeepSeek model, download them through Hugging Face. So here, download the entire model that's being used here. Obviously, it'll be a bit of a large file, and running machine learning LLMs on your local machine is quite intensive. But if you want to do something like white label this model, obviously, again, you have the China connection. You don't know how safe it is to actually do that because it's going to be really hard to parse through and understand all the information that's contained within the machine learning model. But it at least is very cool to be able to say, hey, I can take this large language model that is ChatGPT O comparable, download it, run it on my local machine, completely independent from ChatGPT. And then it also opens up a lot of possibilities with, hey, maybe you want to train it more on very specific data that only you know about, or your company specific data. That's where, again, you might not want to train on your own company data yet, but it is something that is, interesting to be doing in the future, or just, if you actually don't mind having sensitive data, or you just want to play around with it for experimentation, ChatGPT and the GPT model, the API calls are very expensive at scale, and that's why it's a many billion-dollar company right now. But this is completely free as of right now. It's startup, probably funded by Chinese government, so you never know if that's going to continue to be the case. But either way, really interesting tool. Something that I was pretty fascinated by, and the fact that it's really just cratered everyone else's expectations of kind of what is ChatGPT going to be the number one? America's going to be the leader. Now who knows? China seems to be kind of coming up the curve and actually producing stuff that is on par with American technology, which is scary to some, but is also interesting in terms of just having more dynamism in the race for powerful machine learning models. So of course, it's going to be scary when someone finally gets to that general intelligence kind of AGI stage. But yeah, that's really all I wanted to talk about. Also, your docs, if you want to go to a quick start, there's very easy docs that walk through how you can actually make an API call. So you can see, make it either through curl, JSON, or Node.js, and then Python as well. So very similar to how you would be using DeepSeek. You can literally just import OpenAI, but instead use your DeepSeek API key and then just use the same kind of functions you might already be using ChatGPT for, or really any other AI model. So it's pretty easy to swap in, compatible with everything, all the existing OpenAI parameters. Okay, so there is a cost for tokens on a API, so that's actually a lie. So it's not free for API tokens, but again, you can download the entire LLM, run it locally, and then it's effectively free. So yeah, okay. So all users are going to enjoy the discounted DeepSeek prices. So they're trying to get a bunch of people on it. Classic startup tactics, bringing everyone into the platform, getting them drunk on cheap usage, and then raising the price later. You also just tokens, token usage, rate limits. So there's actually no rate limits on this. So if you want to do really high performance or really high frequency requests, it's something I know personally OpenAI has kind of struggled with, or ChatGPT has struggled with. So might be useful for those kind of use cases. But also relatively early product out here. People don't know a lot about it, so maybe take your time before diving into production workloads. But definitely an interesting tool to start playing around with if you've been working with large language models, anything with AI. I think it's at least worth checking out. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you want me to spend more time on DeepSeek, let me know. I just thought this is something interesting and I want to talk about it. But if you think it isn't, let me know in the comments below. But above all else, have a great rest of your day. Data Guy out.